What I wanted to do in this video is kind of explain something that I guess I hadn't explained before. When I was given a little tour of our trailer where we stay at nighttime, I had a book there that I'm studying, Swahili. So, siku hivi ninasoma Kiswahili. And the question that some may be wondering, if you don't know me anyway, why are you studying Swahili? And what may be a strange answer to you is, I'm not sure exactly. How can that be? Well, I just have a real strong desire to study Swahili. I just feel to go with my hunch, and I don't know what's going to happen. I've never really met a Swahili speaker. But I want to tell you a little story that I've told it before. So if you've followed me before, you've heard this before. But anyway, it's a good life lesson. When I got out of high school, went into college, I was studying languages, and I met this fellow who just got out of the Navy. And the draft was going on at that time. That means, the government was choosing people to go into the Army or Marines, which I didn't want to do. And this fella told me, he said, if you want to kill two birds with one stone, he said, join the Navy. They've got a language school. That way you can learn your languages and get your military obligation out of the way. So I did. I talked to a recruiter. I said, I want to learn the language. He said, well, we got to see if you have the aptitude for it. So I got into boot camp, took aptitude test. I said, yeah, you can, you have an aptitude for languages. And so here's a list of 30 languages that we teach in Monterey, California, Defense Language Institute, DLI. And so he said, pick your first three choices. So anybody that's been in the military know what's coming up. It's called a dream sheet. And sure enough, I chose French, first choice, Spanish, German, maybe I'll be stationed in Europe. So when my orders came, congratulations, you're going to be studying Vietnamese for 36 weeks. What? I didn't even put that down. So they choose not what you want, but what they want. That is the U.S. government. And we were heavily into Vietnam at that time, so-called conflict. So I thought to myself, Vietnamese, what kind of little podunk language is that going to help me? Only one little country in the whole world, Spanish and French and German, they're spoken all over the world. But Vietnamese, So reluctantly, I did study. And I wish I would have studied harder and more. But after 36 weeks of studying Vietnamese, I got stationed in Fort Meade, Maryland. And there we did some listening and interpreting. And then, as the writing was on the wall, I was sent to Vietnam, but I didn't go straight there. I went to the Philippines. And I didn't know Filipinos from Adam. Matter of fact, when I got in boot camp, in those days, the Philippines had an agreement with the United States that they could join the United States Navy. So a lot of the Filipinos would join the American Navy. In boot camp, that's basic training, I saw this little group over in the corner. They were little brown, thin, skinny, shaved heads. Of course, we all had shaved heads at that time. Speaking this strange language. I said to myself, oh my, I asked one of the other guys, I said, what's the Viet Cong doing here? He said, that's not Viet Cong, they're Filipinos. And I thought, Filipinos? What is that? He said, it's a group of islands not too far from Vietnam. Wow, really? So as fate would have it, I went to the Philippines. Well, as I'm thinking on it, you know, I didn't know anything about Philippines, but little did I know, but the rest of my life would be intertwined in the Philippine culture and people. And as most of you know, my wife, I got married there and still married 52 years later. But anyway, I went to Vietnam back and forth from the Philippines. So I spent a few months in Vietnam and then come back and spend months in the Philippines, 2 or 3 times trips. Then when I got out, this was in '72, I worked for this company in Fresno, California, and it was like a charity. It's called Catholic Charities. They kind of helped refugees and people that needed help, charity. And wouldn't you know it, in 1975, this is when the downfall, or when the North Vietnamese took over the South, thousands and thousands of Vietnamese fled Vietnam and came to different countries all over the world, Australia and Europe and even Thailand, and they were kicked out of Vietnam. And so the thousands came to the United States, came to California, and wouldn't you know it, where I worked, they had a big program to teach English to refugees. And they said, does anybody here speak Vietnamese? Because we have a lot of non-English speaking Vietnamese refugees coming, and we're hard pressed to service them or take care of them. And of course, I thought to myself, I speak Vietnamese. What? Really? Yeah, I learned Vietnamese. So that was my very first job of teaching, was teaching English to Vietnamese refugees. So the whole point was, you never know the future. I kind of hesitated, and I didn't do my best to learn Vietnamese, but as it turned out, it was an invaluable skill. The only person in that community that spoke Vietnamese. So taking that, and there's another little story. I don't know if you saw the, what's it called? Close Encounters of the Third Kind. There was some people, including the protagonist of the movie, who just had a desire to build this. He was at his table and his family was watching him. He took these mashed potatoes and he built this kind of a structure with mashed potatoes. And people are thinking, are you nuts? He said, I don't know, I just feel that this is important. This means something.
I can't describe it, what I'm feeling, and what I'm thinking. This means something.
Of course, they're all looking at him like, "Whoa, Dad, you've gone nuts." And then it turns out, if you've seen the movie, in the end, people were drawn to this landscape structure, and that's where the aliens had come down and they had communicated with them. So what does that have to do with anything? Well, learning Swahili, I just feel that it's worth learning, and I will be using it sometime, somewhere, So I know Mr. Brown has really gone off the deep end this time. But in the interest of sharing what I consider life lessons, you never know what the future holds. So if an opportunity comes up, go for it. And it may seem like it's not worth anything now, but in the future, it very well could be. So that's it for today. I appreciate you coming to my channel, hanging in here with me, and I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.